Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here, and I'm grateful to the Asma Jahangir Foundation for keeping the voice of Asma Jahangir alive. It's a much needed voice, especially in the times that we live today. The question of accountability or victimization is something that we discuss a lot, but the reality of this situation remains unclear. It remains unclear because we deliberately cloud the facts. The laws are misused. The judiciary makes comments which are not reflected in their decisions. And a few who stand up suffer, and the whole country suffers. I do not want this to be a personal narrative, but I have stood in accountability courts for 12 years. I have spent 3 years in NAB jails. I don't regret whatever I said or did, but two basic questions remain. What is the purpose of accountability? And what has accountability delivered to the country? The purpose is very clear. The people, I won't go to the past, but since Pakistan came into existence, within the first 3 years we had a thing called PODA. And that became PRODA and ABDO and Ziaul Haq and NAB ordinance and stuff like that. But there's been one consistency in all these laws. They don't apply to the people who created these laws. And the people who apply these laws, the laws also don't apply to them. And that is the reality of NAB today. The NAB does not apply to the judiciary. The NAB does not apply to the military. The NAB does not apply to the business community. The NAB does not apply to the bureaucracy. Who does NAB apply to? The politicians who are declared corrupt in the media, who are tried in the media. So let me just place one simple fact before you. This is the 21st year of NAB. One politician of prominence has been convicted in NAB courts. One. Let the NAB chairman come out and say how much money has recovered from politicians. That one person is Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, who, please, I urge the legal fraternity here to look at the two cases Nawaz Sharif has been convicted in. Can you quote them as precedents anywhere in the world? And I'll not go to the details of that issue, but that remains the fact. That one politician of prominence in this country has been convicted by NAB in 21 years. So where are all the kleptocrats? Where are the ones who made money? They sit in every government that is formed in Pakistan. They just change loyalties and they save themselves. When you have a law which defies every basic principle of justice, which says that I declare you guilty, now prove your innocence. That is what NAB is about. I declare you a money launderer. Now declare that you are not a money launderer. Now prove to me that you are not a money launderer. I have been accused of money laundering with my tax-paid money. With tax-paid money. Doesn't the NAB chairman know? Doesn't the judiciary know that there has to be predicate offence before you declare money laundering? You can write anything in any charge sheet. I have one case today, the charge sheet is 34 pages long. The NAB reference was 19 pages long. How does that happen? What are we doing? Where are we going? This is the situation in Pakistan today. Salahuddin Saab touched on this a little bit. The law requires me to maintain financial records for 7 years. You are trying me for 35 years. So, I say if you accuse me of something, then you also give the record for your 35 years. I definitely cannot. There has to be, I am all for accountability. If you want accountability, NAB is not accountability. NAB is whatever, it's political engineering, it is manipulating politics, it is punishing people without convicting them, whatever you want to call it. If you want accountability of politicians, it's very simple. The whole world does it. You don't need special laws. It's about tax laws. The people who apply taxes on the people of Pakistan should answer for their own assets. They should answer for their own lifestyles. What are they earning? If they are earning, then they should be paying taxes. If members of parliament walk out to a 3 crore rupee or 6 crore rupee vehicle and go to a 50 crore rupee home, and their monthly electric bills are 2 lakh rupees, and they pay no taxes, what does that tell you? That's a corrupt politician. Why don't we go after them? Let it start with the President of Pakistan. Let the Prime Minister be next. Let the leader of the opposition be next. Ask them this basic question. How do you justify your lifestyle? Where are the taxes? This is the basic question that needs to be asked. You want to disqualify somebody? You want to apply 62, 63 to somebody? Then use the tax laws. Anybody who is not paying taxes is committing a crime against the country. Most of us think paying taxes is optional. That's the reality of Pakistan. We had an issue in the National Assembly, a new law. We are very fond of making new laws all the time. We made 33 in one day. Nobody even read them. So we were making a new law on appointing judges. I moved an amendment. I said anybody who wants to become a judge should present his last 10 years of tax payments before the people of Pakistan. Let him show how much taxes he has paid in the last 10 years. Because if he has not paid taxes, and you'll be surprised how many people who became judges have not paid taxes, it means two things. That either they don't have a practice, they're not technically qualified to be judges, or they have not paid taxes on their income. They've hidden their income. Are they qualified to be judges? Are they qualified to judge me tomorrow? Let's be fair about these things. The politicians are much maligned, and maybe rightly so. But I can tell you, whatever I've spent 34 years in politics. Whatever the government of Pakistan has given me as salary or whatever in those 34 years, I think I paid at least 10 times to lawyers in this country to defend me in NAB cases. Is that fair? What does the Prime Minister of Pakistan earn? 1,35,000 rupees. That's the reality. At least, I don't know what the guy now earns, but that's what I got. 1,35,000 a month. So, there are many questions to be answered here. Victimization, NAB is about victimization. It's not about victimization of an individual anymore, or even a group of individuals, or even a political party. The people paying the price today are the people of Pakistan. The entity paying the price for NAB today is Pakistan. And my friend Dr. Musaddiq Malik is here, he analyzes everything. So I'll give him some numbers, which I pulled off the internet as I was coming here. In 2000, when NAB came into being, Pakistan had there are many ways to measure this, but one measure was, we had a per capita income of $576. Today, it's $1,190. 21 years later, Bangladesh was at 358, they are at 2,097. India was at 443, they are at 1,900. So who lost and who won? I think without having the knowledge Dr. Musaddiq has, I can safely say, and a big part of this is NAB. I was Petroleum Minister for 4 years or 5 years. Last year, Pakistan had an opportunity to take a decision, a simple decision. We would have saved it at least $10 billion in cash in 3 years. That decision was not taken. Why? Because no bureaucrat works anymore. When a NAB investigation officer puts 2 papers in front of a secretary who has served 35 years with integrity, one is his arrest warrant, right then and now, and the other is an approval statement against the minister. These are the choices given by a 17th-grade NAB officer who was 4 years earlier in a college to a secretary who served Pakistan for 35 years. Is this the accountability that we want? Is this accountability that we have? This is happening in Pakistan today. You will never see NAB move against a person in power at that time. If you want accountability, if I'm a 80% plus of politicians never handle public money. They remain backbenchers in government or the opposition. They have no access, they have no control over public money. How can NAB apply to them? If they have robbed the bank, there are laws to do that. If they have stolen electricity, there are laws to counter that. The laws for everything. How can NAB apply to a person who has never had any control over any public money? We made all these amendments. NAB can only be amended by consensus. There are many laws, including electoral laws, that should only be amended by consensus. We don't seem to learn that, and we suffer. NAB is one of them. We made a package of amendments, gave it to the government. 4 hours later, a minister waved them in the National Assembly. Here they want an LRO. And the result is what I've shown you. Bangladesh has raced ahead, double our per capita income. India with 1/3 the population below poverty level has raced ahead of Pakistan in per capita income. A big part, this means the failure of governance, a big part of that is NAB. So, there's a lot more that can be said here, but, and then I will end with a human rights issue. Does anybody care about what happens to people who are accused by NAB? Does anybody care about their families? Does anybody know that they can't operate their accounts? They can't operate their businesses? They can't get bank loans? There's a big human cost that is paid here. And I always say, and I end with this, you want to accuse a public figure? We are the only people who go through accountability at least every 5 years at the ballot box. You want to accuse me? Install cameras in the investigation rooms and in the courtrooms. Show the people of Pakistan. That's my constituency. Show them if I've been corrupt. Accuse me in front of them. Not in closed courts where the prosecutor doesn't make sense, where the laws don't make sense, where the judge has limited knowledge. And when I go to a NAB court, I go with the knowledge that he will convict me no matter what my case is. Let me tell you that. But it's not only me, we still stand defiant because we believe in what we do. We believe that without political leadership, this country will not move forward. Turncoats, hypocrites, people who sell their loyalties don't make nations. And NAB is a tool to convert people into turncoats and to sell their souls. That's the reality of NAB. Thank you.